Okay, yeah, I guess just before we start, I really just have to say some words of thanks, to really the whole athletic department here. What we've been able to achieve certainly, doesn't happen just with the team and ourselves. We've had great support from the administration over the last few years, especially this year under Shane's leadership. But I think I have to do a big thank you to our immediate staff. Dan Hermsmeyer's been our GA for the last 2 years, and Raymond Pryor, who's been our sports psychologist. But we also have an amazing support staff as well, whether it's in the academic services, the weight room, the training room, nutrition, all those things. I think our team especially has really taken advantage of all of these resources that we have. It's something that we impress upon when we're recruiting athletes, and the student athletes that we have certainly use all these resources as much as possible, and all those support staff throughout the administration and throughout sort of our direct ones do an amazing job of pushing the athletes, helping them, providing all these services for them, and I think that's a huge platform that allows us to have the success that we have. So. And finally, I'd be remiss without, really just thanking our team as well. They're the ones that put in the work day after day, do all the preparation, the hard work, really commit to the things that, we give them, we put them to do for training or, using those support services. They've committed to them and worked hard on them, and I think they certainly deserve all the success that they've had. So with that, open it up for questions and go from there.
Jon, every year, every title team is different. What is it in your mind about this team that you will remember? What sets this team apart?
Sure. Yeah, every team is a little bit different. I don't really know what sets them apart. I think we've had hardworking teams every single year. I think this year's team has definitely been a really tight group, a real sort of team in the way that they've supported each other and worked together and stuff. It's been an interesting dynamic it's probably one of the smaller teams that we've had for a long time, and potentially that's just impacted the dynamic a little bit. I think other things I'll maybe remember, we've had, I talked before the championship, we've had great senior leadership. We've had a great balance this year of experience and younger shooters coming in. Probably one of the things I'll remember is, having all 4 of those seniors go to the championships, and they all have very unique and very different stories and journeys that they've taken, both before and their time here at WVU. So I think that's maybe a unique aspect of this year's team.
In 2013, you had Petra winning both of the individual titles, and now to see it come here 3 years later with Jenny as a true freshman, what was that like for you as a coach to watch that unfold?
Yeah, I mean, that was really special to see as a coach. It's not often any coach really gets to see their athletes win an individual national championship. So I was in the fortunate position of having 3 of them in the final the first day, and certainly hoping that one of them would be able to come through and do that. And once it got down to Melis and Ginny, obviously at that point, we were going to have someone win that final. And the second day with Ginny being in the final, she put herself in a position to do something very unique to win both championships. But that was going to be a really hard final against 7 other very good athletes that day. And I'd like to think all the finals practice that we do at the range was able to pay off, and she shot an incredible final on that last day to win both. So it's a very unique accomplishment. It's not been done very much before, but yeah, very much a testament to her hard work and commitment to the things that she needed to do. But certainly as a coach, it was very very gratifying, I guess, or was very happy for her to see her, have that accomplishment on the last day, and a great way, I think, for us as a whole team to finish that championship. We obviously won, and that's great, but I think, we could see by the reaction of the team members that it was just a great way to cap off an awesome weekend for everyone with the team.
When did she first come onto your radar? How do you remember?
I think Ginny came to some of our rifle camps a number of years ago. She'll probably remember the exact when and where, but she'd been coming to our camps for a while, and so I think we were fortunate to be able to track her progress a little bit more. And she was pretty forthcoming as a high school of sending me information and keeping in touch and showing her interest in coming to WVU and shooting. So it's certainly been a few years that we were able to follow her progress, and that's part of the recruiting side of things to keep up with that. But so it's certainly it's been a little while for sure.
What does she possess to allow her as a freshman to accomplish that?
I think just a lot of drive and determination, and I think also the biggest thing, I think just like I said, the commitment to all the things that we've sort of, I don't want to say instructions, but the things that we've tried to teach her or give her ways to help her in her sport, whether it's on the mental side of things or the technical or physical. She really listens and takes everything on board, and as a coach, she's very coachable in that sense. So I think it's not just from us, but from our support staff. She's someone that has used all the resources available to her, and I think that's something very important for all athletes in any sport. WVU has some excellent resources here, and we always say to recruits, you're going to be able to improve and do as much as you want to do. The resources are there. It's just how much you take advantage of those. So I think she's really taken advantage of those opportunities, as well as being willing to put the work in to do that.
Can you be a little bit more specific of the areas that you might have stressed with her, and maybe how they might differ with, like from someone else that you might have had to?
Well, everyone's different for, maybe what they need. I think, probably the biggest one is really being able to focus on the process of what you're doing, rather than thinking too much about the outcome. So we're in a sport where it's very numerical. It's very easy to judge how you're performing in terms of there's a score every time. So like golf, there's always a score, there's always a number. So it's really hard to switch that off and not think about that and really focus on the things that are actually making you better, making you a better shooter, which is the process of what you do, your actual technique, and all those little things. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that she's really picked up, to be able to differentiate between the two and really focus on that process.
Jon, how about the expectations on you and on the program? Now 4 straight, 5 in the time that you've been here, 18 overall. How do you handle that as a coach, and how do you see the players the shooters handling it as they not only come into the program with those expectations, but then they live up to them year after year?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's probably one of our biggest challenges, to deal with that, to try and find a way to just focus on ourselves, focus on each day, essentially focus on the present. It's an expectation like that is, it's normal, and like you said, all the accomplishments, that's going to happen. But like anything else, whether it's studies or family life or anything, essentially it's a distraction, and it's something that I as a coach and those guys as athletes can't control. So we focus a lot on controlling the controllables, and ultimately the expectations from media, fans, parents, anyone else is not something that we can control. So we have to just do our best to shut that out and not worry about it. And that's a challenge, but as a staff, we just try and preach that as much as possible. And a lot of the times the success of the team is going to be how much they buy into that. So they've done a great job of buying into that and really focusing on themselves and focusing on the present. And I think from that the results come.
A couple of years ago when we were talking to Petra and to Nico, they were saying how West Virginia rifle has become sort of a staple in Italy. And how do you see when you go out on the recruiting road, or you're taking a flight to Europe or wherever it happens to take you, how do you see West Virginia being perceived by those young prospective student athletes who maybe don't know anything about West Virginia but have heard of this program? Sure.
I think it's really neat. There definitely is a really good awareness there, whether it's throughout the states. I think even before I started, West Virginia had a very big, a long tradition and history within the sport, and a lot of the other coaches and people throughout the sport are from West Virginia, so there was always that connection there. But yeah, even internationally now, there's, you know, I don't want to say reputation's maybe not the right word, but there's an awareness. There's a much greater awareness of not just West Virginia rifle, but I think college rifle in the U.S., and it's helped a lot more international kids be aware of it. But for sure, between Nico and Petra and all the other international students we've had on the team and on the team now, that does bring a great awareness, and you know, it's obviously a huge benefit for recruiting, and you know, something that we hope will continue.
You have 4 engineering majors on the team right now, and then you look back at the Nikos and Petras who, you know, at Ferrari right now doing successful things. Why do you think that engineers have such a success in the sport? Do shooters make great engineers? Do engineers make great shooters?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's definitely a tie-in. It's a very mechanical sport. You know, it's a lot of, you know, you're dealing with adjustments. It's and it's also a, you know, you need you know, good analysis skills. It's also a sort of problem-solving type sport too. Whether it's your equipment that there's a lot of adjustments you can make with your equipment. There's a lot of adjustments you can make with your own position. So I think someone with a problem-solving, you know, minded person is going to adapt well to the sport. Not only that, there's just the focus and concentration and mental skills that go with that, which could apply to any major and anyone. But I think engineering does attract, you know, good students and ambitious students. So I think all those things, I don't think there's one thing that ties them to in that. And equally, we've had people in the engineering department that are mechanical engineers, computer engineers, civil engineers, and those are all very different, you know, avenues and interests as well. So I think there's just all the little things maybe tie in together and create that. But it's definitely, I think, a common theme, not just with us, but at other universities or other rifle teams throughout the country as well.